Welcome to Half a Point, the podcast that saw Wolfie time. I don't know what that was before this round, but it cost me a cover. That's right, Fremantle run all over the top of Hawthorn in Thursday night's game, probably the game of the round, definitely of the year, or of the year as well. Crazy way to start off round nine, but this week is our round 10 best picks episode. We each be giving our five best picks against the spread. Tell me, break it down. I am joined by my co-host Carlton superfan Cuss. Mate, how are you feeling?
Yeah, bit of a bounce back there. Much better week from me personally. So very happy with that. Yeah.
That's right, man. We'll jump into another brutal round for me. But yeah, good to see you bounce back. If you're new to the channel, please leave a like on this video and subscribe. We're also active on TikTok, on X, on Instagram, on Spotify. So give us a follow on those. And also a reminder to please gamble responsibly. All right, Cuss. Jump into round nine. As I said, I'm back in Melbourne now. I thought the luck would turn. Looked pretty good for three quarters for Fremantle versus Hawthorn. I don't know. Hawthorn were playing really well. I thought they were winning outright. They were up by 15, I think, in the fourth quarter, maybe. Ended up not even covering. You were on Freo, so fair play to you. It was just brutal, man. Just seeing the tsunami, the Wolfie time, whatever it was, Fremantle just storming home, and I just knew as soon as they hit the front, like it was over. They were going to get another goal. They're going to cover. So yeah, fourth, as I said last week, fourth consecutive 6-day break, I think, and they had the legs at the end, which was really surprising to me. Not mad at the Hawthorn pick. I thought they were the better team. But yeah, fair enough. I called Fremantle pretenders last week, so I have a little bit of egg on my face this week. I do think it was a really impressive win. So fair enough to Freo. We'll see in the finals though. I will be fading you guys. Moving on to Brisbane Carlton. So I'm still a bit jet lagged. And I went to sleep at half time, and you could see the shock on my face when I woke up. You guys had a good second half.
Yeah. It's always a tale of two halves with this team. I pretty much wrote them off as well, like at halftime. There's no point watching this. Then saw a little bit of heart towards the end of third, carried it on to into the fourth as well. But obviously, like we've done it before. We've cut down a 40-point lead against the Lions in the at the Gabba. Probably not going to do it again, especially at the team that we have. But like, it was just good to get the cover. We said like it was a massive line
Yeah,
for this
not a
team.
sweat in the end. It was comfortable. Port Adelaide Western Bulldogs, this was a sweat. If you got Port Adelaide early in the week, they were plus 2.5. So I say all the time, get the best of the number. I think I said last week, get them as dogs. They were still available when I gave out the pick. Unfortunately, they were minus one, minus half a point in the contest. So didn't get there, and it's just a story of the year. Like it's just bad luck. North Melbourne, Sydney, this was a good win. North Melbourne should have won outright. They cover the 27.5 point spread quite comfortably. Would be really brutal if they didn't cover this. But as I said, I think they should have won this game outright. They had lot more scoring shots. They missed a couple of easy opportunities. They should have really kicked a good score. But yeah, this is what good teams do. They end up winning outright. North Melbourne can't just get over the hump where they've played really competitively against some really good sides. So I'm giving them the flowers. I think they have really improved. So yeah, not something I didn't expect. Giants Essendon. So you were on Essendon and the points, and I was on Giants or Survivor. It was a massive sweat for me. Watching it together, break it down for us.
Yeah, well, I don't think the cover was ever in doubt. I feel like they were well within
I
the
don't know.
48
Hey guys,
points.
this guy saying the cover was never in doubt. It was the end of the third quarter, and this guy was like, "Oh my God, here it comes! Here come the Giants! They're gonna kick like 13 in a
Hey,
row."
hey,
I was like, "Bro,
that's
relax."
private. That's private. That's private. Nah, but it was just that they were in it the whole game. They stayed competitive. And I think, yeah, pretty unlucky not to get the win at the end, but I think almost anyone saw it coming. Like they don't have what it takes to finish out a game. So yeah, good game for you, good game for me. We both walked away with something from that one. But yeah.
Yeah, and then
Um,
Suns Saints. I didn't think it was a bad pick. You on the Saints.
Yeah, I was on the Saints here, which honestly it looked good early on. But obviously you can't draw conclusions from the first quarter. I think Suns did really well to fight back in the second, and then really put the foot down in the fourth. So they got away with it at the end. But yeah, bit of hope there as being on St Kilda.
Yeah, and then Cat's Pies. I did go to this game. As I said, I'm still jet lagged, so I was really sleeping in the third quarter, and the footy did not help. Yeah, I mean, yeah, not competitive in the end. I think Collingwood we kicked pretty poorly at goals. So I think the scoreline is a little bit inflated. But Geelong, we saw a sort of a new brand of footy where their handball chains. It was good to see. It was really entertaining. Their handball chains that just got the Collingwood defender up, handball over the top, and yeah, you have Holmes playing from half back. It's just the perfect fit for that type of play. He's just quarterbacking their offense. So I think yeah, props to Geelong, pretty dominant performance. All their shots at goal were pretty easy. So I think they deserve to have such a high score. But yeah, I think Collingwood I think underachieved there. And then Melbourne West Coast, a little bit of a sweat, but got there in the end with the cover.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like they lost it a bit in the first quarter, but then did well to sort of punch back with a few goals. And it was almost back and forth, like consecutive goals. But yeah, at the end, they managed to kick a couple goals in that last quarter to sort of get them within the line. So pretty happy there.
And then Richmond Adelaide, man. Again, just an absolute brutal non-cover. Adelaide leading at halftime, catching over like I think 6 goals. And then I think Adelaide kick the last three goals in the last 3 minutes. And then Ben Keys cost me the cover. Just the story of my season, isn't it? Like I think I got unlucky with super unlucky with that one. Poor Adelaide one as well. Like I should have had a 4-1 week. No, I could have had a 4-1 week. I should have had a 3-2 week, and I end up having a 2-3 week. So yeah, story of the season. But as we say, like I think they're the right players. I'm just gonna keep making those plays. It's a long season. I don't care. But yeah, when it's not your season, it's not your season. It rains, it pours. That's just how it is. If you did get Richmond at plus 38.5, that was available at the end of the week. So yeah, that got there. So as you say, get the best of the number. So yeah, not a terrible week in terms of like the actual betting, except for the contest. It was pretty bad. Anyway,
Yeah.
as I said, 2 and 3 for me. 17-28 ATS, pretty poor. That's like four, I think, losing weeks in a row, which is pretty bad. But as I said, like, don't think they're the terrible players. Just going to keep hammering out of just 3-2 our way out of this hole. There's still a lot of ball to go. You have a 4-1 week, so finally a little bit of respite for us. You joined me on 17-28, so still not great, but as you say, can only go up from here. Favorites 4-5 ATS, nothing special. 8-1 straight up, but it's. I mean, the only upset was Western Bulldogs who were half a point dog. So is that even an upset? I guess. But yeah, no upsets again, pretty much. So pretty disappointing. North Melbourne probably could have got there. Essendon was a shout there as well. That's pretty much all. But Hawthorn as well, I guess. But yeah, the other ones are pretty non-competitive. So yeah, pretty disappointing there. But as we say, we expect these things to turn. All right, let's turn around here. Let's jump into round 10. Let's continue your momentum. Starting off with Brisbane versus Geelong, Thursday night game at the Gabba. Last time they played was obviously the grand final with Geelong were laying 10.5, ended up getting blown out by 47. This time around, Brisbane are 15.5 point favorites. Where are you going with this one?
Stay away for me to start off the week. Yeah, I think yeah, Brisbane at the Gabba. It's sort of just I don't know. We sort of said that they are starting to cover. They didn't cover last week. Not sure where that trend is at the moment, but maybe it's just something that we can put to the side. But yeah,
I think they're 500.
yeah. So pretty even there. Geelong as well played a pretty good game last week. I feel like it was almost effortless the way it almost looked effortless from them. And yeah, maybe they'll be able to make an upset over the Gabba. I'm not sure. But yeah, just to stay away from me. What about you?
Give me Brisbane minus 15.5 here. I know it's Brisbane at the Gabba as a favorite, and for years we've been fading them. As I said, I think it's turning the other way. We saw them blow out Collingwood as well, laying at a pretty similar number. It's just a brutal spot for Geelong. 5-day break on the road, and as I said, I think their win against Collingwood was a little bit over stated. I think it was a little bit closer than what the scores suggested. And as I said, the new type of way Geelong's playing, it requires a lot of run, requires a lot of carry from the back half. On a 5-day break, is that going to hold up against this Brisbane side who are flying and who are playing well at the Gabba here? I know they had a sleepy second half versus Carlton, but the game was really dead and buried in the first half. So even if this is a one or two goal game in the fourth quarter. I think they can run away with it at the end. I haven't been great on these Thursday night favorites. I've been on a bunch of them, I feel like, and I've just been getting burnt. And last week I went with the dog and got burnt the other way. So it has not been going great for me. But as I said, I'm just going to stick to my principles. It's just a bad spot for Geelong. So yeah, and because Brisbane have been covering as favourites at the Gabba this year, and against other good teams as well. So I'm not too scared to lay the points with them here. This is open, I think 13 or 14. So a little bit of money trickling on Brisbane, nothing special though. I do see this closing closer to 3 goals. So I'd get the best of the number now. Moving on to Sydney versus Collingwood Friday night game at the SCG. Last time they played Collingwood were 4.5 point favorites in the gather round last year. Ended up winning by 31. This time around, Sydney up 35.5 point favorites. Going to be a stay away for me for the contest here. Haven't really played a side at this number 35.5 now. Now that I think the Cameron news is out, and I just think that it's a lot of points to lay. We always say with this Collingwood side, like when no one expects them to come in the backs against the wall, they'll find a way. People are sort of thinking that they're looking ahead to the Pendlebury West Coast game, which is fair enough. They could be. It is a 6 day break on the road against the Sydney side, who have underachieved, I guess, over the last couple of weeks. So not a terribly good spot for this Collingwood side, but it is a lot of points to lay with Sydney. I'm not going to like buy this high on Sydney. So yeah, going to be a stay away. What do you think?
Yeah, pretty similar to what you said. I think there's a lot of points here to catch. Collingwood is like you look at Nick Dacos's game last week. It was, you know, Mullen held him really well. Still got a bunch of disposals, but they weren't as efficient as they usually are. So that I think brought down Collingwood's performance because we know how much of an impact he can make. Do they have that great of a tagger? I don't think so. But yeah, I
Jordan.
think. Yeah, he's all right. He goes all right.
Yeah,
But
he's okay.
yeah, Mullen is really good just
Yeah,
the
he's
way
not
that
as
he
good as Mullen. Yeah, I
plays.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I'm jumping on Collingwood here at plus 35.5. Yeah, bit of a surprise. I just think there's a lot of points here, and I feel like after last week's performance, they definitely want to step up. Collingwood's not a team that they want to seem lazy and they don't want to use last week an excuse. They're going to want to bounce back and really outperform this Sydney side. Not calling any upsets, but yeah, I think they'll be able to cover the line here.
I think that's fair enough at this number. But yeah, the scary thing is even if this is a 1 goal game in the fourth quarter, Sydney can still just pile on. But I don't
Yeah.
know. We said that about Brisbane and Carlton last week. It worked out well for you. So, yep, fair enough. Moving on to Gold Coast versus Port Adelaide. Again, another Friday night game in Darwin. Again for the second week in a row for the Suns. Last time they played Port Adelaide were 23.5 point dogs. Ended up winning by 4. I think that was a Ken Hinkley game. That was really good to watch. This time around, Gold Coast are 26.5 point favorites. We're going with this one.
Stay away from me. Yeah, I just not really. I feel like I'm not too sure how to read these two teams because I feel like Port Adelaide they do perform pretty well. Like we saw them against Western Bulldogs last week. Um, you could say unlucky not to get the win there. But yeah, like put up a really good performance. Will they regress a little bit? Not too sure. Gold Coast, on the other hand, they're playing over at TIO, and we've seen that they can put away teams over there. So. Yeah, just not really sure which side to jump on here, so staying away.
Yeah, stay away from me as well. I said a few weeks ago, I'm all in on this Portland side, and I still am. But this is just a brutal spot. Like Gold Coast just don't win, so don't lose in Darwin. So, yeah, I do lean Port Adelaide in the points here. I feel like this Gold Coast side has been just underachieving, even like against St Kilda last week. Didn't look great, but is this the game where they just sort of put the foot on the pedal and just blow out this Port Adelaide side? I can definitely see that happening. But yeah. Is there a world where Port Adelaide can pull off the upset? I'm not ruling that out at all. Just because how Gold Coast have looked, and I do think Port Adelaide is better than what the market suggests. But you're going to be a stay away for the contest. Moving on to Adelaide versus North Melbourne, Saturday afternoon game at the Adelaide Oval. Last time I played, North Melbourne were 36.5 point dogs, ended up losing by 13, so get the cover. This time around, Adelaide are 18.5 point favorites. Give me North Melbourne plus 18.5. And give me North Melbourne to win outright here as well. Absolutely love this one. Going into this week, I was like, oh, I think Adelaide's the play here. I think Adelaide's the spot. Then I started thinking about it. We said for the last couple of years we've been fading Brisbane as favourites at the Gabba. I think Adelaide are 0-5 ATS at Adelaide Oval as favourites or as an underdog. So they haven't covered a single game at the Adelaide Oval. And you expect that. They were the minor premiers last year. So they're going to be overrated coming into this year. And so I still think the market hasn't caught up to it. North Melbourne's getting a little bit of respect here. I think when they played Adelaide Oval last year, I think it was in the 30s, mid 30s, but Adelaide were flying at that point and North Melbourne weren't going as well as they are now. So yeah, this North Melbourne side, as we said, they've been really close. I feel like this is the one where they get over the hump. I just think the market hasn't caught up to how bad this Adelaide side is. They're just not playing that good. They were down to Richmond at halftime last week, and we know how bad Richmond is. They need like a heroics from Dilthorpe and Rankin to get over the line there. So yeah, it's North Melbourne side. I think they can smash them in the middle, get off to an early lead, and we've seen Adelaide come back, give up early leads and come back. But yeah, if you can consistently give up these massive leads, it's a sign of a bad team. It's not a motivation thing. They're just not that good. So yeah, giving North Melbourne the points. What do you think?
Yeah, stay away from me. I really want to jump on North Melbourne as well, but I think the only thing that sort of pushed me back a little bit was how they gave it all last week. Over at home, and then now they're playing away. So on the road, not really sure if they're going to regress a little bit, but yeah, I really want to jump on North Melbourne here, but I just couldn't find it in me to do so. But yeah, respect the pick.
Yeah, that's fair. It could be a letdown. And Adelaide it could be a get right for Adelaide. So yeah, gutsy pick, I guess, but got to go with
Yeah.
it. Moving on to Melbourne versus Hawthorn Saturday afternoon game at the MCG. Last time they played, Hawthorn were 21.5 point favourites. Ended up blowing them out by 36. This time around, Melbourne are 19.5 point dogs. Where are you going with this one?
Give me Hawthorn plus minus 19 and a half. Yeah, I think yeah, Hawthorn will be pretty disappointed from last week's performance. Like they shouldn't have lost that at all. They did everything right to put themselves in the position to win that game. They're going to be super disappointed to lose, especially on the road like that. I think they're definitely going to want to bounce back and make up for the loss of last week. And this Melbourne side, like they do perform really well, but I just feel like this is a team that they need to put away. We were very high on them early on in the season about where they're going to finish end of year. Yeah, I think this is a game that they just have to put away. So I think they'll be able to cover this pretty easily. What about you?
Let's clash. Give me Melbourne plus 19.5 here. I'm actually shocked at that pick. I didn't even consider Hawthorn, but I just think it's this Melbourne side. Like the market's still catching up to them. Like I think they're 5-0 at the MCG straight up. So going to throw a little bit on the money line here as well. Um, yeah, this is just one of those banana peel games for Hawthorn. I feel like where they come off a really big emotional game versus Freo last week on extended rest now, back home, but this Melbourne team, I just feel like they're flying, man. Like I think they play so well at the MCG, and they play a fun brand of footy. Yep, I do. Hawthorn is obviously the better side than my premiership pick. I love Hawthorn, but yeah, no Barras, a little bit banged up after last week that we saw them. They were out on their feet, which is not what we expect from Hawthorn. A couple of key players, like I think Weddles, he's a little bit out of form. Gunston left the ground with a moon boot on, so if he's out, then that's a big deal. He kicked like I think it was him and Watson take on really last week. So. Yeah, I think it's like one of those sleepy spots for this Hawthorn side where I think last year, these types of games the favorite would cover. I think it's coming, we're sort of seeing it slowly coming back to earth here. I do think Melbourne and the points, it has to be the player. I'm going to throw a little bit on the money line as well. But yeah, good to see a clash there as well. Moving on to Carlton versus the Western Bulldogs. Saturday at night game at Marvel. Last time they played, Carlton were 2.5 point dogs, end up losing by 8. This time around, Carlton are 11.5 point dogs. You already know where I'm going with this, man. Give me Carlton plus 11.5 and give me Carlton to win outright here. No loss means that I can get back on Carlton now, right? So yeah, I think everyone knows the trend. Everyone knows the dead cat bounce, new coach bounce. We saw it last year, Melbourne versus Western Bulldogs. Yep, they didn't win. They covered comfortably though. I think a couple of years ago it was West Coast versus Brisbane, and ended up covering. So yeah, as I said, even if Voss didn't resign this week, I still would have been on Carlton in the points here. I just think they're a lot better than what people perceive. And this Western Bulldogs side are getting way too much love. I know Carlton's 1-8, but I think they're genuinely one of the best. Like they're really competitive, and then we see these halves where they absolutely get demolished. Now there's a circuit breaker. Do they play a little bit of freedom? We always see that happen. I think this was at 13 and 14 and a half early in the week. It's come down a little bit to 11 now. So yeah, not getting the best of the number, but yeah, I just think with the Western Bulldogs side, they're still super banged up. Bonson 100%. And yeah, Carlton just always rises. As in teams in this position always rise. So yeah, I'm making this pick 100 times out of 100. Not going to best of the number. If it doesn't cover, I'm not going to care. But yeah, what do you think?
Oh, ballsy pick, mate. Ballsy pick. I'm going with Carlton at plus 11 and a half. I think it's just the right pick to make in this situation. Yeah, like you said, we lose the coach. It's just every team bounces back in one way or another. Um, yeah, even before this, like you said, Western Bulldogs, they're just banged up. They put up a really good performance last week on the road. I don't think they'll play as good as they did last week. Yeah, I think even when you look at like the way Western Bulldogs play, they're just a little bit lost without like those key players. Obviously they're not going to have English this week as well, due to
Yeah,
concussion.
yeah,
So,
true. Good point.
big loss for them. We know how great English can be, in the middle. So yeah, I think Carlton, yeah, bit of money on the money line here. Don't mind it.
Yeah,
But
definitely,
yeah,
definitely.
I've
Yeah, English
I've definitely
obviously.
tipped Carlton as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, English obviously is priced into the number, but I don't think the public's sort of caught up to that event. Sort of, I feel like tipping the Western Bulldogs. I think, yeah, definitely have to go with Carlton here. Moving on to Essendon versus Fremantle Sunday afternoon game at the MCG. Last time they played Fremantle with 30.5 point favorites, ended up blowing them out by 41. This time around, Essendon are 35.5 point dogs. So we're going with this one.
Stay away from me. I sort of wanted to jump on Fremantle, honestly, but it's too risky going for an away favorite. Couldn't find it in me. I feel like Essendon as well. They played I wouldn't say a decent game because it was pretty much just the Giants, but they did well to sort of stay within that fight. So I don't know, maybe they won't bring it like they did last week. So yeah, just staying away here, keeping it safe.
Yeah, fair. All week Essendon was in my five, but this morning I took him out. Um, I don't know it's a Fremantle emotional win at home last week. With Wolfie time, we called it last. We talked about it earlier, but yeah, it just feels like a sleepy spot going all the way to Melbourne Sunday afternoon game. Like what a sleepy spot. And we did see signs from this Essendon side last week. But I don't know. There was just another one where I had to put in front of this one. I have played it at 35.5. There's a lot of games. I think I had to narrow down seven from to five. So yeah, I do like Essendon and the points here. Not going to be part of the contest. And now that I've said that, they're going to cover. So that's the theme of the year. So yeah, going to be stay with the contest, but I like Essendon. Moving on to St Kilda versus Richmond Sunday afternoon game at Marvel. Last time we played, Richmond were 22.5 point dogs, ended up losing by four. This time around, St Kilda are 43.5 point favorites. This is the one I subbed in and give me Richmond plus 43.5 here. I know that absolutely burned to me last week and I'm so filthy at him. But I think this is a pretty good number. Not sure if Wilk is going to play, which is a big deal. And obviously Naz is out as well. Again, priced in, but yeah, I just think that this Richmond side is so bad. But I don't know. I just feel like we're reaching the bottom of the market here. I know St. Kilda have covered as favorites. They're 2-0 or 3-0 against the spread as favorites at Marvel this year, which is or even in general, but which is really surprising and not something we're usually seeing. But just don't expect that to continue. It's not the brand of this St Kilda side. Richmond have looked kind of a little bit better at least the last couple of weeks, but they're so banged up. I don't know. I have to go with the long term winner here, and that's Richmond. I know it's gross. I know it's disgusting, but these are the long term winners that we've played that have served us so well for years and years. So yeah, I know it's this one or Essendon's. I chose Richmond this morning. Yeah, I hope it doesn't come back to bite me. But yeah, what do you think?
Yep, give me Richmond plus 43 and a half as well. Bit ballsy given that, they're struggling to even put up a best 23 at the moment. They actually might come to the game with 22 players, but yeah, I just think it's top of the market versus bottom of the market. Like, in what world are we seeing St Kilda as a 43 and a half point favorite, like wild to me. Like I get it, they're playing good footy, but that's just it's a huge amount of points to lay. And I just think, yeah, Richmond, they'll find a way. I feel like they'll find a way to sort of cover this line. But yeah, I think it's just way too many points to lay.
Yeah, they got me and you running out there on the weekend at this point.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, not great. Moving on to West Coast versus the Giants Sunday night game at Optus. Last time played West Coast for 23.5 point dogs and it got blown out by 59. This time around, West Coast are 30.5 point dogs. Where are you going with this one?
Keeping it simple. Give me West Coast plus 30.5. Just going with the home dog here. Yeah, 30.5 away from home that's a lot of points to lay as well for GWS. You know, I feel like they haven't sort of earned that respect yet. So yeah, I think West Coast should comfortably cover this line here. What about you?
Yeah, going to be a stay away from me, but I have played West Coast and the points as well. Yeah, as in probably the seventh pick, I guess, for the week. I do like West Coast and the points, as you said, home dog. Giants side don't really warrant that much respect. We saw even at home versus Essendon last week, they didn't look too good. And West Coast were catching 30.5 versus Sydney early in the year, if you remember. So, yeah, do expect them to cover this game. Like they've been pretty disappointing over the last few weeks. Even last week, even though they covered, they didn't look very convincing. I think you're getting a really good number here at 30.5. Can only see this coming down before first bounce. So yeah, like the play there, but going to be a stay away for me. All right, that's our round 10 picks. Give us your five.
So I've got Collingwood plus 35.5, Carlton plus 11.5, Hawthorn minus 19.5, Richmond plus 43.5, and then West Coast plus 30.5.
Nice. Four dogs in a favorite. Me too. Give me Brisbane minus 15.5. North Melbourne plus 18.5 and to win outright. Melbourne plus 19.5. Carlton plus 11.5 and to win outright. And Richmond plus 43.5. Survivor, let's jump into that. Last week, I think we were both on the Giants. As we said at the start, it was a massive sweat. Essendon were up by 26. Probably should have won that game, but thank God they didn't. Essendon and lost. So I'm still chugging on. Who are you going to go with?
Look, I don't have much to pick from. All I have are underdogs, so I'm going with the least underdog, which is Geelong, because I just got nothing left.
I mean, fair enough. I guess they're a live dog, but obviously I'm on Brisbane minus the point, so I don't see that happening. But yeah,
Yeah.
not out of the realm of possibility. Luckily I have Sydney up my sleeve, so I'm going to go with Sydney here. I think even if Collingwood do cover, I think Sydney should win. But yeah, as you said, I'm running out of teams now. There's not many good teams to pick from. It was this or Adelaide, but as I said, I think North Melbourne win outright. So yeah, give me Sydney there. All right, Cast. So that's our picks for this week. Closing thoughts before we wrap up here.
Just got to back up our good week from last week and hope for the best, mate.
That's right. As a reminder, please leave a like on this video and subscribe. And until next week, bye.